So what I'm going to do today is use this old bottle, which was just a water bottle that I've let dry out. And then to me, it looks like a dog. So I thought what I could do was turn this into a dog planter. Well, not to plant dogs in, of course, but to put some plants in. I love making planters, but to put some planters in, but so it looks like a little doggy. Welcome to Steve McDonald's Crafting, and let's get on with this. I think the first thing I need to do is think about where the plants are going to go. Well, the plants are obviously going to go in the middle here. So what I'm going to do is draw roughly the shape using this Sharpie of how deep I want them to go. And I think that is probably a little bit too deep. And the great thing with the Sharpie is if you mess it up, you can just use a little bit of alcohol on a wipe and that will come straight off. Let's try that again. So I don't need it to go down that deep. I want it to come round about there, maybe, yeah, like that sort of shape. So that's the bit I want to take out, and that's where I'm going to put the plants. And all I'm going to use to take that out with is a new blade in my little scalpel, because I want it to be as sharp as possible. And then carefully, so as not to cut my fingers off, go along this. Oh, what an awful noise. Now, I'm not going to try and cut through it first time round, because that will possibly dent the box. But what I am going to do is if you go make a line first, then that gives you the line to cut and use, and you'll find you'll get a much neater edge with that and a much neater cut. Well, that's taken off there now, and it's not got rough edges at all to it. If it did, then you could either file them down using a little bit of sandpaper, or a little bit of heat would do that as well from a cool iron or something like that, but it's absolutely fine. Now this piece I'm not going to get rid of, because what I'm going to do is clean that up and then glue that into the bottom there, and that will give that a little bit more rigidity. You don't need to do it, but I like to do it, and all I'm going to be using to do that with is my trusty glue gun. Well, that's all stuck in there now. So now what I want to do is put the bit in for the legs. I don't want the long legs. I want it to be more like a dachshund or a sausage dog sort of shape. So I want the legs to be quite short. I'm just going to make a couple of little rolls of this cardboard, and I'm using this piece of dowel just to roll it around. And now it's got a nice roll to it. I can just go round, roll that leg. Yep, that will be big enough. Glue that together, roll that onto there. And I'll make 4 of those before I stick them onto the bottle. Well, I've got my little legs all ready now, and I've also made a little tail by just twisting some cardboard around, a little strip of cardboard, and then bending it up. But before I can do anything, there's an indent in the bottom of this bottle, and I don't want an indent. I want it to be quite rounded. What I'm going to use is some good old kitchen foil, and I'm going to turn that into a little bottom for him or her. And just put some glue on there and stick that on, let that cool down, and then give that a little bit more shape. And then once it's got some shape, I'm going to have the tail going up so it goes upwards rather than down, so it looks like it's wagging and it's happy. While that's drying, I'm going to glue my little legs on, and I'm going to glue the legs on about there evenly. Yeah, that should do me for my legs. Put them up the right way. Now I'm going to fill that hole there with a little bit of foil to give it something as well to grip onto. Fill it with a bit of glue. That's not going to come out. I'm also going to just pop a little bit of glue inside the cap as well, because I don't want this cap to come off. It's going to be on there permanently. So if I put a bit of glue in there and then screw it back on, that is not going to come off. So I'm going to stick his little tail on now by just adding some glue to this and putting that on about there, I think. And now I'm going to also put some foil on here to make up a little bit more of his head. So just add some glue to that, pop that on there. And then I'm going to get a little bit of foil on each one of these sides as well to flesh that out a little bit. So the little tooties are done. All I'm going to do is glue those on there so that they just come out a little bit. There we go. So it's got some little feet, and I'm just going to build the fronts of these feet up with a tiny bit of foil. So what I'm going to do, because I find that sometimes clay or paper mache doesn't stick very well to the clear plastic bottle, I'm going to put some masking tape over these areas. It'll also help the glue to stick onto the plastic bottle, and you don't need to be precise at this sort of stage. It's literally just a case of sticking it over where you want it to be. So what I'm going to do now is cover it completely in this paper, and that's simple to do. Brush on your PVA glue or your white glue and put your paper on it. And once it's covered, just let it dry and go hard, and then we can do some more bits to it to make it look a little bit more like a dog. Well, the little woofer's all covered now in the paper, and it's dry enough now for me to be able to continue. What I've also done is I've cut out some ears ready, and they'll be going either side of the little woofer, but in a little while. And now what I'm going to do is cover him in some air dry clay and start to sculpt some of the features in, but not all of them, because I will go in and add bits to it after I've covered it in the air dry clay. Well, my little dog's all dry now, but I think I dried him a little bit too quick because I had him in a really warm area. So I've got a few cracks in him, but I'm not too worried about that, because what I'm going to use is this kind of paper clay. It's a lot more fibrous than this one, and then just use this to fill in the cracks and let that dry. Well, this is all dry now, and as you can see, there's no cracks in it at all, and I think that really did make a difference. It's nice and hard, and it's not moving. And while I was sculpting that, I did just put in the hint of a nose and some eyes. I wrapped the cardboard cutout of the ears with a thin layer of this paper clay, and I need to attach them to there, and it really does transform this dog once you get the ears on. Now I'm going to glue those on and then tape them on, and then once they're on, I will then go over it again with a little bit more clay to smooth them in and set them in, and that will also allow me to build up this head a little bit more. I'm going to be using wood glue because I know it's nice and thick, and it will give me what I'm looking for, and it will glue to this lovely. And I've got the bit that is kind of like a point going backwards, so that's about right for me there. I'm just going to put a bit of tape on there to hold that into place, and the same for this one as well. Definitely starting to look more like a dog. We'll leave those to dry up, and then once that's dry, I can build those up and smooth them all in using the rest of this paper clay. Well, now the ears are all stuck on there, I'm not going to take the tape off because I don't think there's any need to do that. I'm just adding a little bit of water around here, because that'll help this clay to stick well to it. And then I'm going to pop this clay onto there and then move it around so it's nicely shaped on those ears, and it will thicken up the ear towards the top, which is what I need. But I also will make it so you can see that the ear is kind of joining to the head there. Also make the head a little bit more head shaped because that's important, I think. And then I'm going to mold this down and bring this down onto here, and then using my little clay tools, I can give it the shape that it needs. And once this is fully dry, if you want to, what you can do is you can go around it and sand it down. And there might be some areas that I think, oh yeah, I just need to sand that down a little bit. Well, this has all gone nice and hard now, and I've kind of carved out a little bit more of a defined chin. And all I need to do now is just give this a quick sand down. I'm just using a medium sandpaper, and the reason I'm doing this is to get out any little fingerprints. I don't want it to be completely smooth. I want it to look as if it's been made. And under the chin, where it's a little bit rougher, I do need to just go over that, smooth that out a little bit. Before I give it its final coat, now it's all cleaned up as much as I want to clean it up, what I'm going to do is just lightly brush over it to make sure I've got rid of anything dust-wise. And then I'm going to seal it using a little bit of acrylic paint that I've mixed up with water. So it's a 50-50 mix, and go all the way over everywhere and paint him with this, or her with this, because that will help seal this to give it a much nicer, cleaner, crisper coat once I go to put the final coat on. Now the final coat is actually going to be white with just some black bits on it. Well, I've done the sealer coat on it, which was that thin coat. I've also gone over it with a primer, and now I'm going to go over it with the white acrylic paint before I seal it all with some varnish. Because once I seal it with varnish, then hopefully it's going to be a little bit more protected. Then I'm going to paint in the little details in black, the nose, the eyes, and the mouth. Well, he's all finished now. I'm really pleased with him. I put some bits on him, I've brightened him up, and I've also given him, or her, let's say, a coat of satin varnish, which will seal that nicely if any water gets spilt on it while you're watering the plants. I've planted him up, or her up, I should say. I love it. I think it's come out so cute. I love animals. So easy to make. All it took, empty plastic bottle, bit of paper mache, bit of foil, and he's done. I'd like to know what you think we should call him. Put your suggestions in the description below and let me know what we should call him or her. And the most popular one, I think I'll make a little name tag and pop around his neck or her neck with the name. Don't forget to boot that like button if you've enjoyed this video. It really does help my videos to get out there. And hit that subscribe button if you're a first time viewer. I'll link everything that I've used in the description below. Take care. Enjoy your crafting. Bye.